When I first came to China, I was terrified. I thought I was coming to a communist country, poor and without freedom. And I was not sure if Chinese people will like me. Hello guys, this is Nestor in China, and this is my story, my personal story about China. I was a young man in my 20s. I barely spoke English and of course not a word of Chinese. I was sent to China by my company to do some IT work. After passing through immigration and realizing the officers there treat me well and with respect, my fears for ending in a Chinese jail started to disappear, and suddenly a feeling of excitement started to emerge. I clearly remember when I exited through the arrival section of the international airport in China, in Xiamen, China. It felt very exciting. I felt like I'd been in Mars with all these Chinese characters printed everywhere and me not able to understand anything. Then we hit to the road, and while driving through the city, I started noticing McDonald's, KFC, Walmart. Wait a minute, isn't it supposed to be a communist country? Why are all these American companies here, even more than in Mexico? And thus, my 20 years journey in China began. And this is what I'm gonna tell you of the real China I have lived in ever since. One of the questions I usually been asked is people in China poor? Before, I think yes, they were poorer, but that has changed recently a lot. And today, I think we have a pretty good life here in China. I can divide it in three cases. If you go to the countryside, yes, you can find levels of poverty with people living with less and doing harsh jobs. But however, I feel even they live with less resources, they feel happy. I guess that with a simpler life come fewer problems. Then we have the middle class in the cities, that includes me and my friends. In this case, I feel we have a pretty good life. We can afford to buy nice clothes, eating well, enjoy great weekends. So I guess we are doing better off than in other countries. And then you have the extreme, the wealthy class. Those people are the ones that become rich at the beginning when China opened to the world at the end of the 70s and 80s. They have factories that start exporting goods. And now the children called second generation is an alias for rich kids. Those kids are the ones enjoying life. They drive luxurious cars, they go pay expensive dinners. And it's not rare, you can find them in many places, especially in the cities. Sometimes it feels like a Dubai. What about Chinese people? This has not changed in years. Chinese people are beautiful people. If something defines China in my mind is its people. They are friendly, they are honest, they are kind, and sometimes they are innocent. One example to explain you is, recently, a friend from Colombia got a taxi, but when he arrived to his destination, he realized that he didn't have enough money to pay for a taxi. So he asked to the taxi driver, "Can I get your contact and pay you tomorrow?" The taxi driver, with a hesitation, said, "Yes, no problem." So they shared contact, and for sure, my friend paid him the next day. This is something that is normal in China. People are easy to trust you. Chinese people will always try to help you. If you go out with a Chinese friend, for example, they usually will try to pay for you. Chinese people are simple, they don't think ill of others. Of course, there are bad apples, mainly in business, but other than that, Chinese are very nice. One thing tough is, part of being naive is that they don't know diplomacy, they speak their mind. So be ready to arrive to China and have a Chinese person tell you, "You are fat," or "Oh, you look old." They don't mean to offend, they just simply say what they see and what they think. It takes time to get used to it, but eventually you will. How is life in China? A second word I will use to define China is convenience. There is nothing that you need that you can't get by using your mobile phone. And cash is a thing of the past. To clearly understand how much efficiency is deeply ingrained in Chinese culture, we only need to look at buildings in China. Every building in China follows the same structure. And the first floor is for business, and the upper floors are for living spaces. That means that you can walk in any street in China, and I mean any street, and you will find store after store. You can walk for kilometers and it will never end. Which means everything you need is only minutes away. Like for example, if right now I want to eat ice cream, pizza, or perhaps get some medicine, I only need to go downstairs and I will get anything I want without leaving my block. And with the rise of internet, convenience got a bigger meaning. Nowadays, you don't even need to leave your apartment. We have Ele.me and Meituan for food delivery, You need something from the supermarket, you will have a pupu that will send the groceries to your home. And our shop from Taobao, which is the Amazon from China, is convenient to deliver to your home, or if you are not home, they will leave it downstairs in storage boxes specifically designed for that purpose. And did I mention that we don't use cash? We pay everything using WeChat, and even we can find a date using that app. Welcome to China. While Chinese love convenience, they are also very efficient. The country is full of tunnels and bridges that make traveling a breeze. And that's one thing that shocked me at the beginning, thinking that China was a poor country and realizing that every average street was like new. They have nice and well-signed highways, beautiful bridges, sometimes kilometers long. And when they don't have enough, they can build new ones in months, not years. And recently, they built a complete neighborhood high-speed train that covers all the country. Now it's very easy to travel. In my case, from Xiamen to Shenzhen, it's about 600 kilometers. It only takes like 3 hours, when before it took me 6 or 8 hours by car. And don't expect to be pulled over by the police. Why bother? They have a lot of traffic cameras, so when you make an offense, you only get an SMS notification, and you pay, yes, you guess, by WeChat, 100 yuan for illegal parking, up to 300 yuan for major offenses. No need to go to the court and wasting taxpayer money. And that has been pretty much the same since I arrived 20 years ago, and it has only become better and better. What about freedom? Wow, that's a tricky question. But if you think North Korea, no way, we are not like that, okay? Basically, we are free. We can do whatever we want and talk about everything we want. Of course, there are some sensible topics, like for example, the case of Taiwan. And to be honest, I myself afraid to talk about it. One thing, because I will not change anything. And second, it can get me in trouble. So better don't risk it, it's not worth it. But to be practical, our life in China is pretty much normal. I can go anywhere, meet anybody, talk anything. It doesn't matter. Even my Chinese friends are more brave than me, and so far they have not got in trouble. One thing, yes, the internet is restricted, but everybody knows that. So we all use special software called VPN, so we can access YouTube and our social media. But that's not a big deal. I mean, it's easy to solve, and it has become part of our lives. Are you afraid of the police? Yes, I was. When I first landed in China, I was so terrified about immigration officers, just to find out they were polite and kind. And then the first time I have a car accident, the police, when he found out I'm foreign and didn't speak too much Chinese, he helped me. He was very passionate to explain me the process by body language. He even helped me to call the insurance. So now I'm not afraid of the police. And I feel Chinese are not afraid either. By starters, you can notice that police in China, they don't carry guns, they only carry a baton and flashlights. The most cases that we interact with police is to ask information, like where to go, how to find a location. Is China expensive? It depends where you come from. If you come, for example, from Mexico, probably it's very expensive for you. But if you come from the United States, probably you'll find cheap. Living in China, although it's not very expensive in my opinion, but it was cheaper. But I think this is an artificial feeling. What do I mean with that? You see, the price for many goods and services has not changed in years much. But something like housing and salary has almost doubled. And besides that, there have been the surge of brands, luxurious brands that cost twice the standard price, and very private restaurants where you can spend the thousands. So I guess it's your choice to live a normal life or an expensive life. But here are some prices for you to have an idea if it's cheap or expensive. For example, Starbucks, American coffee can cost you 27 yuan, up to 48 for a fancy drink. McDonald's, the meal set costs you from 20 to 40 yuan. Taxi can cost you 10 to 20 depending where you're going. Metro, 2 yuan to 8 yuan. You can have a very nice Chinese meal to get your food for 15 to 20 or even 30 yuan. So that's not very expensive. Besides that, many things like a clothing and other items like a decoration and table, whatever you call it, is really cheap. You know why? Yes, you guessed it, because it's all made in China. However, if you want to live a life as a foreigner, going to fancy restaurants, having nice parties a weekend, yep, it can cost you a lot of money and become even more expensive than your home country. Technology. One thing that feels real the first time you come to China is that here we live like in the Jetsons. But it has not been always the same. Before I just came to China, this country was pretty much like any other country. However, about 10 years ago, when internet becomes so easy to access by everyone, everything changed big. Today, the use of internet, artificial intelligence, and automation is mind-blowing. By starters, China is the only country in the world where cash is obsolete. Here, we don't use cash anymore. We pay everything by WeChat or Alipay. And although Sweden is also another country reaching the status of cashless, the difference with China is that here it happens naturally rather than being a government policy. Another thing to notice is automation. Day by day you find less and less people in places like parking lots or supermarkets. When you leave your parking lot, you just scan a QR code and pay your parking fee. There's nobody there waiting for you. And this happens in supermarkets, where before you find clerks, now you find self-service machines where you scan the QR code of your groceries and pay by yourself. In restaurants, there is no waiter waiting for you. Every table has a QR code where you scan, see the menu, order and pay. Then the waiter just delivers the food to you. And similarly happens with McDonald's, KFC and other shops where you have self-service machines when you order the food by yourself. Automation happens not only by software but also by machines. It's very common now in China finding robots almost everywhere. In hotels, there's small robots that deliver package delivery and food to the rooms. Also in the restaurants, the robots that help the waiters to carry the food to the tables. And even in the parking lots, I have seen robots performing surveillance. It's very interesting. And access to internet here is so common that you get used to it. You have access to internet in coffee shops, not only in Starbucks, in restaurants, metro, airports, and even police stations. It is a 5G connection and it's free. And did I mention that China is among the few countries that have landed a rover in Mars? That is the level of technology that now we live here in China. I am from Mexico, and my city in Mexico is the safest in the country. We can leave the doors open at night and not much will happen the next day. When there is a crime, it's all over the news and usually solved in a matter of days. China is pretty much the same, but nationwide. I feel very safe here. I feel safe walking at late hours at night, and I think girls especially feel safer here. In many cases, I left my car unlocked, and it's still there the next day. Perhaps in other cities or smaller places, it's different. I have a friend from Bolivia that has had very bad law cases. But overall, if you ask me, I feel China is very safe now. And I think the reason is, one is Chinese culture. Chinese culture is based on family and helping each other, which creates a sense of community that makes people thinking more on doing good than doing bad. Another thing is the gun culture. Chinese are not crazy about guns, and guns are not allowed for average citizens. And finally, there's a lot of surveillance, and the crime is being punished severely, so you better think twice before doing something wrong. It's also worth noting that it has changed. Before it was not that safe. When I just came to China, I recall losing 2 or 3 mobile phones to pickpocketers in supermarket. But since then, in the last years, I don't recall any situation where I have lost something. My attitude towards China has shifted after 20 years. From thinking it was a poor country closely without freedom, I am now amazed at how much it has progressed in the last years. I think now China is the land of the dreams. There is a lot of opportunities here. You get to meet a lot of amazing people, it is safe and people is kind. All this together make it easier for you to achieve whatever you want. Since I quit my company 14 years ago, I've always been on my own. I have engaged in many businesses. I have met amazing people. I bought my dream car. I even found love. And otherwise, I have lived a life that in Mexico would have seemed very impossible. I love China and I'm very happy here. And nobody's pushing me to say that. This is not a hostile situation. Honestly, I live here almost half of my life. And I'm very grateful to this country for all that it has given to me. Friends, family, love, money. China now is my second home and Chinese is my main language. And if you want to know more about China, you can watch the next videos about high-speed trains in China and how we pay by WeChat in China. That's it guys, enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more interesting videos about China. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one, hasta la vista.